Welcome into this episode of the Suffering Sports Fan podcast. We are doing this right after the Dolphins' 20-17 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was a rough one. A lot of emotions going through, definitely my mind, I'm sure yours as well, during this game. I think there are some positives to take away, but obviously I think there were some things that were pretty jarring to start. So what was something on your mind watching this game where you're like, oh man, we gotta
So,
fix this?
so there's so much, and it's great to have won. It's great to have
Yep,
that behind us. So
that
you're
is
one
a
to know, no
plus
matter
for sure. That is a
no
big
matter the
plus.
flaws and all that. You're one to know, and
Right.
and but so many things. First of all, you have it's very hard as a Dolphin fan, and honestly, the suffering sports fan name of the podcast keeps coming to mind because it's very hard as a longtime Dolphin fan who has seen us lose this game
Right.
more times than I can remember. You
Yeah.
just see it playing out as a loss. When it was 17-7, I'm like, we've lost. I have that in my head. How are we going to come back? And then when we have a chance to take the lead, but we don't, I'm like, oh my God, now we left enough time for Trevor Lawrence to just go down and kick a field goal to win. And we
Yep.
lose with no time on the clock, 20-17. This is how, as a jaded Dolphin fan, you sometimes see this playing out. So it's
Yep.
hard. And I think that this team continues to try and show us, no, we can come back. We can still be in it. We can win these games. And that's
Yep.
kudos to them,
And,
right?
and that was probably the
Um,
most important takeaway from today's game, where they're down, they fight back. You have to give credit to Javon Holland, who made a spectacular play,
to play the game. Play the game.
stripping the ball, punching it out of the hands of Travis Etienne, who had a really good day by all accounts. Basically walking in for a touchdown was going to make it 24-7. Essentially, like you said, probably put the game away.
Game over.
Uh, and not only did he save the day, uh, but then the Dolphins were resilient. Literally, the first play, they go and they score. Tyreek actually was on that next drive. Jason Sanders misses a field goal. You're like, oh my God, another great stop. Then Tyreek 80-yard
It's
touchdown.
like this. The whole game's like
Right,
this.
total waves up and down. But I think the Dolphins defense was specifically resilient today in how they bounced back. And the secondary was rough. It was rough all day. But the defensive line, two great sacks on that last drive to make sure they got the ball back and have that opportunity to win it. Calais Campbell looked great. Zach Sealer looked great. Jalen Phillips got a sack in his first
Jalen
game
Phillips.
back.
My
I mean,
goodness.
he was awesome today. The defensive line looked great. The secondary needs to step it up for the next time out.
Look, a lot of it is first week stuff. You're not in sync. Tua clearly was off with his timing in the
Okay.
first quarter.
Yes, I agree. He was off. He still ended up throwing for 315 yards.
Well, that's the thing
Right,
that's crazy. I was just going to say, it's like
day.
Trevor Lawrence, you thought the first half was on his way to a really good game. We were having trouble stopping him.
Yep.
And he had a terrible game. 162 yards, barely 50% passing, 97 rating. He didn't do anything. The whole second half, they didn't score. And so you got to give props to the defense. They really they found what they were doing. I think I wasn't paying attention completely, but it looked like the pressure changed. We maybe were blitzing more than we were in the first half. He had much less time in the second half to throw than he did in the first half. So, and then Tua, who struggled in the beginning, is probably going to be the league's passing leader after today, after some of the numbers I'm seeing across the league. I haven't seen everybody's stats, but there were a lot of teams that just were not good.
Right.
So
No, I thought the offense, the way that they played in the second half, there was one play specifically, I believe it was in the second quarter. The Dolphins went scoreless to start, and Tua, drops back. It was a play action and dialed just a rocket for 10 yards to Jalen Waddle. And I was like, oh, all right, McDaniel definitely said, we're getting our guys involved. Enough of this. No more missed opportunities. Every time we're out of the field, we are putting the ball in the hands of Jalen Waddle, of Tyreek Hill, of Devon Achane, and Raheem Mostert. And when those guys got the ball in their hands, for the most part, it was successful. Even when they were running those screens at the line of scrimmage, which worked today, it won't work every time. But when you have guys as fast as they are, something is going to get done every once in a while. And so I thought that the play calling in the second half was very good. The first half was typical old McDaniel. And
The
I
first half was,
worried.
I mean, it
Was
really made me
scary.
angry. And I just, I don't know. I guess to some degree, you got to take the good with the bad. Because, like you said, the second half, he dialed up some great stuff and it was better. But the first half was like, you, I don't know if actually Jacksonville is leading and have 17 points if for not McDaniel's terrible play calling.
Yeah, right.
Why were we going for it on 4th and 1 at the 52 times? Why? I don't
Sure.
understand.
Yeah, it was definitely weird. I do want to touch on Tua a little bit because obviously he was a big conversation this offseason. And I think the thing I was most impressed with Tua today, and this has been a big conversation with him, was his ability to not extend plays. They'd said, once he gets in the pocket and it collapsed, it's done. The play's over. But today you saw multiple times he would step up. No one's open. He took off a couple times. One got called back on a holding, but he ran for 2 other first downs. He escaped the pocket, made a really nice throw on that long touchdown to Tyreek Hill. You can see him turn and pump fake to Jalen Waddle, who ended up being double covered, which left Tyreek wide open, and he ended up delivering a great pass to Tyreek for that awesome touchdown that got the Dolphins back in the game. In the first quarter, he didn't look great, but I think that was more the offense being out of sync and play calling, bad plays being called at the wrong times. Because when you get Tua to feel comfortable and get in the zone and deliver those easy passes, he has no issue of making those long balls and extending plays. I was very pleasantly surprised today with his ability to be able to move around in the pocket. Even when it did result in a sack, he tried to extend the play by running around a little bit and ultimately getting tripped up. But I thought he was spectacular in the second half, and the best part of this win.
I think you're going to see a lot of moving of the goalposts again with him because
Sure.
I was getting messages from some people that in the first half where it was like, well, there you go. They gave Tua all this money, and here we go again. Same old Tua, and all that kind of stuff. But he did lead them to a comeback win. Are the Jags a good team, or are they not? Make up your mind.
The game management at the end was very well done. They were running the ball, and he completed a couple throws that he needed to make. We can say whatever he wants. People can say whatever they want, but there were no real snap issues today. The center quarterback exchange was solid. No fumbles on handoffs. Every pass besides one that got tipped, actually Waddle ended up catching it, were pretty clean throws. You're going to miss some that happens. I don't think it's going to be common where Tua launches a deep ball to Tyreek and overthrows the fastest player in the league, but that also happened a couple of times. And you saw that once they got into sync, Tua played a really clean game and Tyreek got in his groove and the offense looked fluid in the second half. So you got to give credit to McDaniel's play calling at the end and helping them stay in it. And for Jason Sanders for stepping up and making that last kick after maybe the worst kick I've ever seen him miss in his career.
It looked like, did you think maybe his foot, did you think maybe his foot slipped? His planting foot slipped a little bit. I couldn't, because it was weird. I mean, that was a miss beyond misses. It was ridiculous.
I mean, typically inside 45 yards, Jason Sanders is pretty nails every time. So,
but the other thing that all the good offenses, I mean, the Dolphins were struggling clearly, but I was looking at the other scores. The Bengals, who lost to the Patriots, by the way, had 0 points at halftime.
Biggest week 1 upset for sure.
The Bills, who ended up winning, had 34 points. They got things going in the second half, but the first half they couldn't move the ball. Yeah. The Bears with all that high-powered offense and Caleb Williams did nothing offensively.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that around the NFL, and so I think you just don't know who's great yet, who's not, who needs to get going a little bit. Did the arrest by Tyreek that happened earlier in the game affect him a little bit? Maybe.
Yeah, first of all, a crazy situation, and for a little bit of speculation of whether he was even going to play or not. Glad he ended up getting on the field. Calais Campbell, we know, tried to get into the altercation as well and help out Tyreek. Glad he was able to play and everything ended up being all right. But I mean, what a crazy situation to happen on game day, week 1, and obviously it ends up resulting in a win. So I'm sure Tyreek and the rest of the team is happy that was the end result. But I mean, just a crazy morning.
concerns. I think the offensive line. I mean, they were better in the second half, but Tua did get sacked a couple 3 times. It says, and they could not get any push on running the ball. Jeff Wilson, who came in
Jeff
with
Wilson
five
was great.
carries,
Great today.
he
Great
saved
today.
us at the end, but
Yeah.
26 yards led the team in rushing.
Yeah.
So this team really likes to run the ball. They were doing the screen pass a lot to get sort of running yards.
Well, and I think I talked about this on a previous episode. Maybe after I visited training camp, but I said there were a lot of times when they were running plays where, in practice and in training camp this offseason, where Mostert and Achane were on the field at the same time. They had Mostert in the backfield, maybe even with Alec Ingold, and then they had Achane out wide. So you have that option. You can hand it off. You can toss it to one of them, and you have all 3 or 4 of your fastest players, arguably the fastest players in the league, all on the field at the same time. I mean, it can't get any better than that. So
yeah, once they get it all figured out and going, it's going to be better. There were other minor factors if you want to throw in there. The Jags have a really good defense, and they took away some stuff. So that is absolutely a thing.
The Jaguars,
but you also don't know.
The Jaguars defense is legit. It is.
You don't know who's really good yet, and it all sort of starts to shake out. Like, for example, the Bills won and scored 34 points, but are the Cardinals good? We don't know. So does that mean the Bills are good?
Marvin Harrison Jr. caught one pass today. I was a little.
I mean, Kyler Murray looked pretty good from some highlights that I saw, and
he looked good today.
So I don't know.
But you know what? The Bills now it's Josh Allen playing hero ball essentially.
Right. That's what I saw. Was him just doing everything.
And and the Cardinals in the second half? How are you letting him run all over you like that? I mean, it was unreal what they were letting Josh Allen get away with, jumping over people. He had 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was great. In the second half, and that's what you got to fear.
Doing Josh Allen things.
But I will say, if the Dolphins' defensive line plays on Thursday against Buffalo the way that they did today, I will be very happy. And it'll be up to the secondary to make some plays because the D-line did their job today for the most part. And I thought coming together in the second half was really good. I really don't have any issues with the offense. Every time there was a situation where a pass was incomplete or it was a bad play call, I just kept saying to myself, they're going to figure it out. They have too much talent on this offense to lose this team to Jacksonville, a team I think they are just so much more talented than. And I think we both kind of predicted that today's game was going to be a win for Miami. But I don't think either of us expected it to be that awful of a slumpy start to say.
I think they really are missing Odell because having that third receiver over the middle when Tyreek and Waddle are covered is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, Berrios is a fine returner. Whatever. I don't know. Tua threw a couple pretty good balls to him today. Drops and incomplete passes, and also Jerome Smythe had an awful day today.
Had a bad game.
Very bad game.
And he's usually reliable, so
Yeah, two easy drop passes for 5 yards. Literally hit him in the hands. I liked what I saw from Jonnu Smith. I wish he was out on the field a little bit more. Potentially even. I know they like to use him as kind of a gadget guy now, like they do with Alec Ingold, just doing some trickery stuff. But if Jonnu Smith takes the role of Jerome Smythe eventually as the actual starting tight end in the offense, I think if you are going to run that kind of play action bootleg stuff and deliver those passes to tight end on 3rd and short or 1st and 10 to get some good yardage on those plays, Jonnu Smith is going to catch that pass. I mean, he has a history of being able to take the short passes and really extend plays because he is typically faster than the normal tight end in the league. I hope he's out in the field. I liked what I saw today from the offense when they got going.
Well, look, what happened? The guys that they gave all the money to, Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, were the main guys that had made all the big plays and had all the yards. Devon Achane is a star. I mean, he's absolutely a star and is going to be amazing. We've got to work on running the ball, but maybe that was just that Jacksonville defensive line is legit, and maybe they'll improve on that. You want to see them sustain. I think what I'd like to see is them be able to sustain a long drive and not only still rely on the 80-yard Tyreek Hill play. It's nice to have in your back pocket, but those are the things that the good teams in December and in the playoffs take away. You got to be able to run the ball and sustain a long drive. But, plenty of season. It was important to just get this home win against a good team, even though it was a struggle, and you're 1-0, and it's a nice place to be, even though I was suffering for about 3.5 hours.
Yes, it was a good, great home win. To kick off the year.
No, sorry, 2.5 hours.
It was a great home win to start off the year, and you're glad that is the outcome. My biggest concern, I think, which I don't know if I've specifically said yet on this episode, is making sure that the old same Dolphins don't come through. Meaning, no more penalties. Too many penalties, both sides of the ball. And last year, it felt like every other play we were losing yards or the other team was gaining yards because of stupid mistakes. And also not getting to the line in time. Again,
that's still the thing. How is this still a thing?
Every time I'm watching them in the huddle, the clock is already at 10 seconds and no one is lined up. They're all still in the huddle. We had to call multiple timeouts in the first quarter because they couldn't get the line set. And so that was an issue for me. And when you play a team like Buffalo next week, yes, you're at home, Thursday Night Football, you should play pretty well. But that is not a team against a division rival where you can make costly mistakes like that over and over again. We know too many times since McDaniel has been here, we've seen a lot of spectacular things, but also some really dumb mistakes, and not having the line set when there's 5 seconds left and you're still calling a play in the huddle is one of those mistakes. And so hopefully those things get cleaned up. But besides that.
And please, McDaniel, first 2 drives don't go for it on 4th down in your own territory in the first quarter. Honestly, it's one of the most aggravating things.
The Jaguars went for it on 4th and 7. And
it was ridiculous. It was stupid. We didn't take advantage of it, which was insane. They basically just, had we not moved the ball 1 yard, we could have had a field goal, and we blew that.
Yeah, right. We missed the field goal, right. So.
But just looking at real quick, just looking at other games that happened and how offenses struggled. I mean, the Bills, Josh Allen had a big time performance, but only 230 yards passing. Kyler Murray 162. The game between the Titans and the Bears, Will Levis versus Caleb Williams. But both guys had a 55 rating. Caleb Williams threw for 50 yards. I mean, it was ridiculous. Justin Fields had.
The Bears defense was spectacular today.
They won on defense. All their points were defense and field goals.
They had 2 touchdowns. The Steelers won. They beat the Falcons today, and they had 6 field goals. Chris Boswell, their kicker, scored all of their points.
Ridiculous. Joe Burrow with 164 yards passing. Jacoby Brissett won that game with 120 yards passing. Yep. I mean, and people are going to look at Tua and go, well, this and that and the other. He had 23 of 37 for 336 yards and a touchdown and no picks. Come on. I mean, that's an amazing day for the first week where you're not in sync with your team and Jacksonville has a good D. Right. That's the positive. I think we need to look at the positive.
Yeah, we keep talking about how the offense was struggling to start and ended up pulling through at the end. But, I mean, if this is what a bad start to a game looks like and these are the stats you finished with and the end result is a win, are we really going to sit here and complain about that? Yes, it was hard to watch that game. Suffering sports fan. I mean, right? During that game, it was hard to watch. But at the end of the day, you got to be happy that they pulled through. And you start off
as long as you won.
McDaniel's still undefeated in week 1. I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
We had a struggle. We had a struggle last year, game 2 against the Patriots on the road, where we won. It was something like 17-7 or something, right? Against a terrible Patriots team that was a good D. And sometimes you're going to have these games. You're not blowing everyone out. This team needs to be able to win a 20-17 game. That showed a lot of guts, and I think that was really good. And to give up 0 points against that team in the second half, let's just. I'm hard. It's hard for me to say this, but let's just be happy.
Right. I was gonna say you saying that's crazy. But but seriously, Tua has as it stands right now, has the most passing yards this week, over 100 more yards than the next closest quarterback. Tyreek is the leading wide receiver today with 130 yards, 7 catches. And Waddle has over 100 yards as well. Not to mention Achane scored a touchdown, and Mostert was in there a little bit today as well. So, I mean, if we're talking like fantasy football, I mean, this offense, they can spread the wealth and still, have a very great day. Obviously, they only scored 20 points. But if you're looking down the list of these, you're like, man, this offense must have had a great day. They just literally did not score the touchdowns. But they did really well today.
I do want to see Nick Wright, who is always putting Caleb Williams in the top 5 quarterbacks, and Trevor Lawrence both above Tua, who he keeps putting very low on his lists. I just want to see what happens after this week, and I want to hear all the excuses. But anyway, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, what a great win to start week 1. Make sure that you follow us at FinsFan Podcast on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated for our latest episodes and what's coming up next. We should have another episode potentially Thursday night after the Bills game. You might see that one on Thursday night.
That might be late. We might have to do that on Friday morning, but yeah. Man, it's better to go into that game one and tied with them 1-0 for sure.
There you go. All right, so that is going to do it all for us. We will see you next time.
All right.